Hey guys, happy Friday. Welcome back to another video here on the Pagan Perspective. I'm Alduin, your Friday host. And this week's topic is literally just Akashic Records. Like, that's literally the topic, like the one term Akashic Records, which, leaves me plenty of room to kind of get into some of the more fringes of the topic. You know me, if you've been following me here on the Pagan Perspective for any length of time, you know that I like to kind of go in and think about some parts of the question that some people may not be looking at, and that's mainly driven because I'm a Friday host, so like the topic's kind of already been picked over and thought about in many different ways. With the many talented people we have here on the Peg Perspective, they've kind of dug at it from many different perspectives. So I'm going to try to see if I can go in and try to come up with something that is a little different than what you've heard already, and of course, make sure it lines up with my core values and the way I see things. So I guess let's define the term Akashic Records. I mean, this is a esoteric thing, so not everyone will agree, but there are some overlapping terms that you should recognize in my definition with the other hosts and outside of the Peg Perspective as well. So let's go ahead and define it. Akasha means spirit, right? So that's the main thing. Akasha is spirit. So these records are going to have some kind of non-physical existence, perhaps existing on a different plane. There are people who feel that this is a literal massive library on one of the spirit realms in which they can walk in and pull out a book, and that book has every single event that has ever happened to them or ever will happen, all played out inside of the book. And that may very well be. I mean, the universe is amazing. I mean, we live on this little blue ball, seemingly with no other life around us, but there are people out here who feel like there's other life. It's just that it's so far away, we haven't developed the technology to get there. So having said that, amazing things can happen in this universe. And it's funny because, for you fans of Rick and Morty, some of you may be smiling now. Morty, gets into all kind of craziness with Rick. He goes to different dimensions. Well, the first episode of this season dealt with Morty going to a planet and picking up what they call death crystals. And these death crystals were just literally just laying around on this planet. And when Morty touched the crystal, it allows you to see fragmented sections of your death. This is very similar to the Akashic Records, where it is said that everything that will happen to you will be in this container somewhere. So naturally, many people fast forward to their death. They fast forward to see what their children are going to look like. And this is where the danger can lie in, because if you did watch the first episode of Rick and Morty, you may have seen Morty went on a kind of a torrent. He went crazy. He was trying to find the best way to make the decision that would allow him to end his life with the woman that he loved. And it was a really big turn for Morty, because Morty doesn't really do things. He's always led by Rick. So I think for this season, they're trying to show that Morty is going to take a more active direction and kind of do things for himself. But I digress. The whole point of bringing up the death crystal is to emphasize the implied danger of accessing these Akashic records too much. Because it can alter the way you end up like Morty. You end up trying to do things and make every single choice that leads you to one particular outcome. And to a certain respect, that's not too much of a bad idea. Let me explain. For example, when someone tells someone who is an accomplished athlete now, when they told them when they were a child, assuming they had some kind of sickness, that they'll never be able to do anything because their bones are too thin. But then fast forward 20 years, 30 years later, they're an Olympic gold medalist, or they've set records and they've defied what the doctor said, right? If you put your mind to something, this just shows that if you put your mind to something, it doesn't really matter what someone tells you. If you put your mind to something, you can make certain events happen. You can lock yourself into a certain path that will end in success. The Akashic Records are just one of those things. If you are able to use tarot cards, you may be very well tapping into a certain, or getting a glimpse of these Akashic Records. I'm not sure if I've shared this with you folks. When I was dating, I'm married now, but when I was dating, I would often do tarot card readings to know what would be the outcome of when I date certain men. I wanted to know what would happen. And I decided to marry the man where the tarot cards told me that I would be getting spiritual development. And the reason why I did that is because I believe that we're all put here on this earth. We're all put here on this earth to experience spiritual development. I'm a big believer in reincarnation. I believe that we come back here time and time again in different bodies, different vessels, different times in order to refine our souls so that way we can evolve in the spirit world. Some of us may go on to become godlike deities. Some of us may go on to join a bigger entity. But the whole point is we're refining ourselves, we're sharpening ourselves. Sometimes your life could be terrible and you'll be nothing more than a sword being pounded on and pounded on. But what happens to a sword when it comes out of that fire? It is strong. It's forged in fire, but it's strong and able to withstand a battle. So it's very similar to the Christian belief that you hear it a lot where, God doesn't put you through anything that you can't stand. Well, no matter what you're going through right now, I believe that it's there to strengthen you so that way you can survive what is to come, and that way you can come out better on the end. So the Akashic records connect with all this because you're able to get small glimpses of those things. By using my tarot cards, I was able to tap into a small portion of what is to come with my now husband, and I decided to take that leap. Now, no one's life is perfect, and now I'm starting to see why it means spiritual evolution. Because of my personal experiences, but that is what you will find inside of the Akashic records. And we do have to talk about what is time, because if there is a literal place on a different realm or different vibration or outside of our universe, however you want to look at it, if this place exists, that must mean time may not actually be linear. That's a very important thing, because if you can walk into this place by way of astral projection or what have you, or a shamanic journey or something, and read a book about something that's going to happen to you in the future, that means time is not linear. That means that all events may be happening all at once. Let me explain. If you do a quick search on YouTube or the internet in general, or pick up a science book, many scientists really do not agree on what time is, right? Einstein did a lot of work with time, and he explained that events pass differently for people who are moving at different speeds. Events pass differently for objects and things that are around things that have a lot of mass. So time is very different for different people at different times, and it can be very, very complicated. But the whole point is time is not always felt the same way by different people. So that leaves open, especially for actual scientists and physicists, this leaves open this thing where time is definitely not what we thought it was. It's definitely not something that we believe can go forward and only go forward. There are people who feel like, especially in science now, that a time machine actually may be possible theoretically if we're able to develop it. So I believe personally that the Akashic records is something similar to the way a computer handles things, right? Because I have a strong IT background. I've been working in IT for well over 15 years, and a computer cannot process everything all at once. What it does is it breaks up certain tasks and works on certain tasks, but it just does it extremely fast. But it works on certain tasks, and once those tasks are done, it moves on to another small piece, and then it can get all of the work done. I believe that the Akashic records is a way for the universe to process all of our experiences, past, present, and future. So it's almost like a random access memory that a computer uses in order to get its tasks done, right? So if you are supposed to go on and become president, let's say you were supposed to go on and become president of whatever country, it's very, very possible that while you are a child, the choices that you make would align you with that one future, similar to how Morty was walking around with that death crystal, if you've seen that episode, and trying to force his way into ending his life with the woman that he loves. It's very possible that if someone told that little boy that he will never be president, it may have ruined his individual sense of self, sense of confidence, and it may have closed off or destroyed that particular vein of him becoming president. Now, He may actually go on to meet someone, a significant other in the future. Maybe it's just high school, someone who believes in him, someone who gives him that confidence, and he goes on to pursue that. And sure enough, if you check his Akashic records, he may become president. So what I mean to say, because this is all very, very complicated, but there is a sense of causality, right? That's actually a physics term, causality. The things that you do, the places that you go, the people that you meet, it's in constant flux. Again, similar to Morty holding that death crystal. Every moment of the day, everything that you do, everything that you think, the places that you go, your actions constantly are shifting what is possible. The Akashic records may well hold every possible outcome, but the outcome that you will experience is the one that you choose, if that makes sense. You have to be very, very careful about living in the now. That's another thing that's important about these Akashic records. Don't try to attempt to get into these records and try to find out what's possible, and then be like Morty and try to almost become a slave to this crystal, or in this case, the Akashic records, and trying to force an outcome. Choose the life that you want, and then strive to do your best to make sure that you line up with what you want, because the universe is literally limitless. Like right now, scientists are finding out that the universe is literally still expanding to this day. So things are always changing, things are always moving, and it is my opinion that the Akashic records are literally giving you every possible outcome. So again, it's not something that you want to check and go, okay, gosh, I know I can be a vice president one day. Let me do everything I can do to become vice president. No, choose what you actually want. Hold on to it, focus on it, keep it in the now, and make your decisions almost stubbornly, trying to get exactly what you want. That's the way I tend to think of the Akashic records. It's not a tool to be abused like that death crystal that Morty had. It's more of a tool for you to tap into by intuition. It's a tool for if you have any people who are kind of like oracles, they can look into it to kind of find some possible futures for you. They may help you in your time of now to figure out what you may want to do, because some people are still, almost 40 years old and don't really know what they want to do with their life. And the Akashic records can give you glimpses of what is possible if you put your mind to it. It may very well be something that you just didn't really think about until now, and then when the Akashic records kind of flash that possibility of future, then you gain the confidence to actually get it. Whereas the person I mentioned earlier may have got his confidence by having a significant other in high school who kind of said, hey, I believe in you, I like your poetry, or I like the way you speak, I see how you motivate people, you should run for president, don't let people put you down. Like that's our interactions with people are for a reason. People come in and out of your life for a reason. Sometimes people come into your life, they cause you great pain, but it's to learn a lesson to prepare you for possible futures that you will find inside of your Akashic records. So I hope that kind of gives you a brief overview of my definition of the Akashic records. Also, I touched on space-time and how time is not really agreed upon by different scientists and physicists and things, and kind of how there's this idea that our past, present, and future are literally unfolding at the same time, and that the Akashic records allows you to access that data, and the divination tools such as pendulums, such as tarot cards, and depending on how you use it, a Ouija board may connect you with an oracle spirit that can tap into these things for you. So I hope that kind of gives you a brief overview of how I feel about the Akashic records. I want to know what you guys think. Go ahead and put down below. Have you seen the Akashic records? Do you engage in shamanic journeys? Do you believe in out-of-body experiences? Do you use tarot cards? Do you use pendulums? Are your spirit guides aware of these? Are your spirit guides oracles? If you feel comfortable in sharing that information, I would love to see that down below. I would love to see a video response, guys. And I hope you guys have a happy and safe weekend. I know that Mercury retrograde ended on yesterday, so I hope you guys survived through that. I hope you didn't go through too many trials and and tribulations and things. And I would love to see your happy faces back here next week if I'm wrong. So you guys have a safe and wonderful weekend, and blessed be.